Since the dawn of Christianity, there have been thousands of saints that have been recognized by the Catholic Church, which got me wondering, what exactly is a saint anyways? What does it mean to become a saint? What is the process like, and who votes on this sort of thing anyways? I was so enamored with these questions, I had no choice but to travel all the way to Italy so I could try to become a saint myself. While I was there, I met plenty of other saints, including Pope Francis, the remains of Simon Peter, and even the incorruptible body of Padre Pio. And along the way, I desecrated plenty of ancient monuments while somehow not getting thrown in prison. So what can you do to become a saint? Well, you're about to find out when Kaleb goes to Italy. You know, sometimes I think about how we live in a culture that's totally self-centered and self-absorbed. So I thought I would further compound this issue by talking all about me and some of the places that I've been to. Actually, we're going to be talking about angels today. And yes, I do mean actual biblical angels.
Be not afraid. My car simply needs a jump.
Now, it's interesting to point out that there are only 4 angels in the Bible that are specifically given names. You have Saint Michael, who we're going to talk about, followed by Saint Gabriel and Saint Raphael. And who's the 4th one, you might ask? Well, you can't forget about Lucifer, the fallen angel now, can you? There's other angels that show up, of course, but they're not mentioned by name. For instance, in the book of Genesis, there's 2 angels that appear to Lot and his family to try and convince them to flee from the city of Sodom. And right away, the people of Sodom want to force themselves onto these angels and essentially have their way with them. Now that's what I call a bad first impression. In Judges chapter 13, an angel comes along and tells Manoah that his wife will give birth to a son, who's the prophet Samson. Manoah asks the angel, "What is thy name, that when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor?" And the angel of the Lord basically just says, "Nah." More specifically, he says, "Why askest thou thus after my name, seeing it is secret?" But the thing is, there's different kinds of angels that appear throughout the Bible, and generally they're broken up into different categories. The Roman Catholic Church has never made any kind of official declaration on the celestial hierarchy of angels. But for the most part, it's agreed that there's 9 categories of angels, and they're broken up into 3 different hierarchies. Hierarchy 1, which is at the top of the food chain, you have seraphim, cherubim, and thrones, which are the guys that look something like this.
What the hell?
Hierarchy 2, dominions, virtues, and powers. And finally, hierarchy number 3, principalities, archangels, and just regular old angels. But even though regular old angels are at the very bottom, that shouldn't be used as an excuse to undermine them or how important they are to the Holy Scriptures. These are the angels that appear most throughout the Bible, as they guide people, protect people, and deliver messages straight from the Lord Himself. In fact, for the most part, they look and talk like regular old humans. Hebrews chapter 13 verse 2 says, "Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares." In other words, these angels look so much like you and me, sometimes people don't even realize they're angels at all. In Judges chapter 13, verse 6, when the nameless angel tells Manoah and his wife about the birth of Samson, the nameless angel is referred to as Melach. Melach is a Hebrew word that means angel, but it can also mean messenger. Basically, it's a job title given to these bottom-tier angels who come down and give messages to us humans. This is the same word that's used to describe the Melach that speaks to Moses out of the burning bush in Exodus chapter 3, verse 2. It's also the same word used to describe the Melach that helps comfort Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 7, when he flees to Mount Sinai. If you look at the Greek translation, the word Melach is translated into the word angelos, which can mean angel as well as messenger. But here's the thing though, none of these bottom tier angels are ever described as having wings. Unless you're talking about the guys at the top, like seraphim or cherubim, none of the human-like angels are ever described as having wings. The idea of angels having wings is a rather negative stereotype in the angel community, and for years it's done nothing but keep the angel man down. Okay, but now we have to talk about cherubim, since I think these guys are just like hands down the coolest. In Ezekiel chapter 1, Ezekiel has a vision of 4 cherubim, which he describes as having 4 faces. One of a man, one of a lion, one of an ox, and one of an eagle, all of which could be used to symbolize Christ the Messiah, I might add. Each of these cherubim have 4 wings, and beside each of them is a wheel within a wheel, and all of these wheels are covered with eyes. And when they move, they do so in perfect unison, without separating from each other. Based on Ezekiel's description of the cherubim, it's been theorized that they might actually be multidimensional beings. Hence the description of their 4 sides, and how they move and act in a way that's so uncanny. However, this is merely speculation, and there's nothing in the Bible that specifically confirms this. And if standing in front of one of these guys is terrifying, just imagine how terrifying it must be to stand in front of the Lord himself. Do you really think you could go up to him and just be like, what's up, my man? How about that Ferrari I prayed for when I was 10 years old? You didn't give it to me, man, what's up with that? No. When St. John sees the Son of Man in Revelation chapter 1, he's described as falling on his face as dead. Anyways, when Ezekiel has a vision of these cherubim in Ezekiel chapter 1, he doesn't describe them as melach, the Hebrew word for angel. Instead, he uses the Hebrew word, not even gonna try to pronounce this one, which means living, but can also mean beast. In Revelation chapter 4, verse 7, John uses the Greek word zoon to describe the cherubim, which means exactly the same thing. A living being, such as an animal, brute, or beast. Because of this, some scholars have argued that seraphim and cherubim aren't actually angels at all. That instead, the word angel might be used to better describe the human-like beings who come to Earth and deliver messages to us humans. But again, this is nothing but speculation, and the Bible doesn't confirm or deny any of this. Because, to be perfectly honest, well, it doesn't really matter all that much. We can sit around and pointlessly speculate on what kind of beings these angels were all day long. But in the end, that's not the point of the story. The point of the book of Ezekiel is God's judgment on Israel and Judah, who have essentially been put on timeout by the Babylonians. But now, the question becomes, where does Saint Michael fit into all of this exactly? Even though Saint Michael is an archangel and would therefore fit into the very bottommost hierarchy, he's still a major player in the world of Christianity. Even though he's only mentioned twice in the New Testament, Saint Michael is mentioned 3 times in the Old Testament. In other words, not only is Saint Michael a part of Christianity, he's considered a part of Judaism and Islam as well. Saint Michael is the leading commander of God's armies and is said to be the archenemy, pun definitely intended, of Satan himself. During the Great War in Heaven, the devil and his minions tried taking over heaven for themselves. That is, until Saint Michael and his army managed to stop them and banish them out of God's kingdom for good. In the book of Jude, Saint Michael and the devil get into an argument over the body of Moses for some reason. Now, there's a lot of theories as to why they're arguing, but no matter the case, the devil is apparently trying to stop Saint Michael from carrying out God's will. Typical devil stuff anyways. Instead of pronouncing judgment against the devil, Saint Michael simply says, "May the Lord rebuke you." This is the only time Saint Michael speaks in the entire Bible, but the implications are pretty huge. Saint Michael knows who the true judge is. Spoiler alert, it's this guy. So not only is Saint Michael willing to submit himself to the judgment of the Lord, but he's not willing to pass any sort of judgment either, even if it's against the devil himself. Now, with such a stacked resume, it's no wonder Saint Michael is considered the guardian of the Roman Catholic Church. For someone who's Catholic, it's really common to pray to Saint Michael for protection in our everyday lives. According to tradition, one of his jobs is to watch over a person's soul from the time they die until they finally make it into heaven. No pressure or anything. Back in 590 CE, there was this really nasty plague that took over the entire city of Rome. Pope St. Gregory the Great led a procession through the city streets, praying and giving penance the entire time, when suddenly St. Michael himself appeared and put his sword inside of his sheath. And with that, the plague in Rome was no more. Basically, it was his way of saying, the place where St. Michael appeared was right here on top of the Castel Sant'Angelo. Now, chances are you've probably seen this building before, and you've probably thought to yourself, wow, that's not the Colosseum. You can get here from the Vatican in only about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how many souvenir salesmen you run into trying to force their wares upon you. Just outside the front entrance, I ran into this guy who was trying to sell a huge collection of Transformers toys, and they could actually transform in real time using a remote control. No doubt this was to commemorate Saint Optimus, the patron saint of Autobots. So the name Castel Sant'Angelo roughly translates to Castle of the Holy Angel. Trust me, I'm a doctor. But that's not the only thing this castle is famous for. Originally, it was built as a mausoleum for Emperor Hadrian, who's buried here along with his family and plenty of other Roman emperors. But as time went on, it was converted into a fortress where the Pope could run off to if he ever came under attack from any invading armies or assassins. At one time, it was even used as a prison for the Pope's enemies. So, points for versatility, I guess? This castle's been known for a lot of different things over the years. Nowadays, Castel Sant'Angelo is a very crowded tourist attraction, with a bunch of weirdos who like to hang out and take selfies for some reason. You can walk around the entire fortress in only about an hour or so. I'd recommend buying your tickets in advance so you can just skip the line and walk right in like I did. Plus, there's some bathrooms and a restaurant at the top, where if you try to use your credit card to pay for anything, they'll look at you like you're a psychopath for some reason. There's plenty of birds hanging out, and none of them are particularly scared of humans either. So if you're not careful, they'll try to take your food from you when you're not looking. You can take selfies with them, or you can adopt one and take them home with you in your carry-on just like I did. Rest in peace, little birdie. Castel Sant'Angelo isn't the only place where Saint Michael has made a surprise guest appearance, though. About 4.5 hours east of Rome, right along the Adriatic Sea, you'll find a small town known as Monte Sant'Angelo. Based on the name of the town alone, you can probably guess exactly where I'm going with this. Back in the 5th century, the local bishop would come down to this underground cave where he would spend his time praying. Not much is known about this bishop, other than he was the bishop of a small town called Sepontum, which was only a few miles away. My theory is that he was coming down into this cave so he could hide or seek refuge. This was a very tumultuous time which saw the demise of the Western Roman Empire. Eastern Italy was being invaded by neighboring armies more than the city of Jerusalem. Oh, who am I kidding? Maybe not more than Jerusalem. But anyways, one day the bishop was praying down in this cave when out of nowhere Saint Michael appeared right in front of him. Saint Michael commanded the bishop to turn this cave into a place of worship. In return, Saint Michael offered to watch over the town and protect them from any invading armies. Fast forward to a few weeks later, when the Neapolitans tried invading their town because, of course they did, when suddenly Saint Michael appeared on top of this mountain, known as Mount Gargano, wielding a flaming sword. Thanks to help from Saint Michael, the townspeople managed to beat those stinking pagans and come out victorious. As it turns out, Saint Michael got his wish, because this grotto has been a hotspot of Christian worship ever since. When I had the opportunity to visit the cave for myself, it wasn't just packed, it was literally over capacity. At one point, they had to stop the line and keep people from going down into the grotto since there were so many people down there already. So you'll have to excuse me for the poor quality of some of this footage, since it was shoulder to shoulder with people and I felt like I was in a mosh pit at a metal show. Probably because it was time for Mass, and what better place to celebrate Mass than a cave that was visited by Saint Michael himself. But oddly enough, waiting in line was actually the best part of the whole experience. The walls are decorated with Christian graffiti that looks like it's been there for hundreds of years. There's old crosses, Latin inscriptions, and other signs of Christian worship just about everywhere you look. I'm assuming these inscriptions say something really cool and really significant, but for all I know, they could just be trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. On the ground level, just above the grotto, you'll find an entire sanctuary that's been built on top of Mount Gargano. In fact, this sanctuary was once visited by Saint Francis, who humbled himself and didn't consider himself worthy enough to go down inside of the grotto. Instead, he spent his time praying and meditating at the entrance, where he kissed a stone and carved the sign of the cross on it. If you get the chance to visit here, I would also recommend checking out the rest of the town. There is literally an entire freaking castle built on the side of a cliff, and I feel like I really don't need to say much more than that.